Thank you all for coming in on short notice. Everybody ready? Okay. I apologize for being late coming out. There were some important calls I needed to make. First, after 2 years, a case is considered cold, and we know that for decades in the city of New Orleans, too many cases have gone unresolved. The fact is that every day that goes by when an actual perpetrator is left on the street and evidence of a murder is not secured, it dramatically decreases the likelihood of delivering justice. Without that level of closure, murderers remain in our neighborhoods able to reoffend and hurt others. I've asked you all here today to discuss the cold case of Thomas Rolfes, son of Ron and Julie Rolfes. And was a fiance of Liz Frieden. 5.5 years ago, this phenomenal Tulane graduate had returned back to his favorite city to meet his fiance to plan their wedding, which they wanted to happen in our great city. Shortly after leaving Mrs. May's bar, he was robbed and murdered near Claiborne and Amelia Street. This shooting and robbery occurred just after he was leaving the Delta Fuel gas station at the corner of Louisiana and Claiborne. And I am very happy to say that yesterday morning in this room, we presented a case that we have been working on for the past several months to a special grand jury. And after hearing the evidence and hearing the live testimony, the grand jury came back with a true bill charging Ernest Weatherspoon with 1 count of armed robbery and 1 count of second-degree murder. And early this morning, the NOPD, with the help of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshals Service, effected the arrest of one Ernest Weatherspoon. He is now in custody. I spoke to Thomas's parents last night, and I just got off the phone with his then fiancee, Liz, and they were all very emotional to finally get this measure of closure. This has not been easy on this family. It's not easy on any family. This shocked this community. There were no answers for a very long time. Over the years, like too many cold cases in this city, this horrific killing has haunted this family. But thanks to very dedicated work of ADAs in this office, NOPD personnel, and victim witness advocates who deal with people day in and day out in this office, the system never gave up. And because they never gave up on trying to find the killer of young Thomas, new evidence was unearthed, and that allowed us to get yesterday's indictment and this morning's arrest. Because these dedicated folks did not give up and kept digging even after they hit dead ends, the next Mother's Day, and it was Mother's Day weekend when Thomas came down to meet his fiance. The next Mother's Day that Julie has, there will be some sense of justice. Nothing can bring him back. Solving violent crimes to ensure arrest and prosecutions is a priority for this office and my law enforcement partners. I need to and want to recognize and applaud the special ADA and NOPD officers that kept working this case diligently. NOPD Sergeant Andrew Waldron, who I've frankly known since he was a kid and a young man before he was on the force, because I've known his father when he served as a judge at Criminal District Court, Judge Dennis Waldron. Andrew Waldron reached out to Julie Rolfes on a regular basis, even when this case had grown cold, and would call her on Mother's Days. Detective Barrett Morton, who was in this room today, explaining to the grand jury the lengths that he was going through to find this killer. Thank you to both of these gentlemen. Thank you to Special Prosecutor Alex Kalinda, who has been instrumental in this cold case work and very dedicated to this family and solving this crime. Since 1964, there have been over 5,000 unsolved murders in New Orleans. And when you add up the number of family and friends impacted by these unsolved murders, you can easily understand the trauma and cycle of violence that has become all too common in this community. Any prosecutor anywhere in this country will tell you just how hard it is to put a case together. Any police officer or detective will tell you just how hard it is to put a case together after 2 years. It's been 5.5. And that's why this announcement is so important today to not only the Rolfes family and to Liz Freed, but to people around this city who are still waiting for answers. This is the first cold case solved by the DA's office cold case unit. The public has seen me standing with loved ones in this community who have lost their family members with no answers. I think it was in August that we were here and then we announced this cold case unit. You see me advocate for resources from the City Council to expand this work. And you will hear me say over and over again that it is a strong partnerships between the DA's office and the NOPD, especially on the most serious cases and cold cases, that is going to help us make our neighborhoods safer by getting dangerous people off the street. I hope that today's announcement is just one of many to come. I know that there are hundreds of families who are still waiting on answers for the deaths of their loved ones. Please know that the OPDA cold case unit is dedicated to finding those answers and is working those cases. We will continue to prioritize solving cold cases and getting bad individuals off the street, because if you listen to what people say in this city and outside the city, and you've heard Chief Ferguson say this as well, when offenders are left on the street, they're left on the street to reoffend and to continue to wreak havoc. In addition to more resources to solve cold cases and unsolved murders, we really need community help. That's how we did this today. That's how this arrest was effected this morning. That's how this case was built to present to this grand jury. There are community members who believed in this office, who trusted the right thing would happen, and they came forward and they cooperated. And we need that to continue to happen. I also want to thank the private citizens who gave up their days and sat right behind me and heard this case. I want to thank you for your work. I can't say your names, but you know who you are. I know the people of New Orleans are shouldering a lot. 2020 has been tough. 2021 has been even harder, and we don't know what 2022 holds. But what we do know is that we all want a safer New Orleans, civic engagement, community participation, people coming forward with the little bits that they know. You may not know it all. It might even start off as hearsay. But the faster you get that to us, the faster we can work with dedicated NOPD members to build these cases, to solve more cases for family members. We need your help. Mr. Weatherspoon is in custody now. There are a number of other legal steps and challenges ahead of us. I have discussed those with the families, but yesterday's grand jury indictment and the arrest this morning with the help of JPSO and the U.S. Marshal Service is a very, very big step for the Rolfes family and for Liz Freed and for this community. With that, I'll take a few questions. Now, I know it's you guys' job to get as many answers as you can for today's reporting and for today's news, but it's my job to be able to bring a case that I can prosecute before a jury. And I don't want to jeopardize any of that. But what I can tell you is this was not the result of someone going after a Crime Stoppers reward. This was Andrew Waldron and Detective Barrett Moore and ADA Alex Kalenda and Victim Witness Services in this building, working with community, listening to what they have to say, and parsing it out and finding evidence there of a crime that was committed 5.5 years ago, and then following up on those leads and following up on other leads. So this was not someone who came in for a reward, but I don't want to say anything further because I don't want to jeopardize this case, and I have to make sure that we can close this thing out the right way. I can tell you that there is overwhelming support and cooperation to hold Mr. Weatherspoon accountable, and I'm very proud of the people of the city of New Orleans today for what has occurred over the past several months and what has culminated here. Yep, he's in custody now. There may be some conversations to be had between now and then. He will go before a judge. I do not expect for him to make any bond. I expect for him to be held until his trial date.
Was this, can you give us, I know you can't get into too many details of Blue Rapids, but on the night of that crime, was this just a robbery attempt, or how did the suspect meet the victim, and was this a botched or failed robbery attempt or something?
As you can tell by the grand jury's decision, they believed that this was an armed robbery that led to a murder. Regardless of whatever horrible motivations were there, it was senseless violence in our community. But yes, it was a robbery.
It's not like what we see on TV and all these crime shows. How does a cold case like this, having no leads, no anything for several years, all of a sudden gets off?
You know, so that's a great question. CSI and all these other TV shows make you think that you can pull a fingerprint off of something in a storm drain 10 years later. But we all know that's not how science works. That's not how evidence works in the real world. But what I can tell you is shifting resources in this office, not wasting our precious woman power and manpower going after every marijuana joint in the city, going after every simple possession of cocaine case, reshifting our resources to focus on violent offenders, and also making sure that we take a look back and not just deal with the current cases that are coming forward. That is what has allowed us the space and time to give the Rolfs family some closure here today. So it really is about prioritizing violent crime. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. If you try to do everything, you won't do anything well. And what I hope this administration can do is deal with violent crime, armed robbery, killings, rape. I hope that we can focus on those things and take those folks off the street and keep them off the street.
Can you elaborate on what you believe Crime Stoppers was doing from Thomas Knowles during the robbery? To this one brief question, and I think I'm answering this one. Did anyone collect on the $30,000 Crime Stoppers?
So no one has asked for or collected the Crime Stoppers reward. All of the civic participation, all the people that have come forward to help us move forward on this case have come forward voluntarily. There were no DA subpoenas or rewards given to get this information. This was just people doing their duty to help us make this community safer. And to your first question, I cannot get into the details and the facts of the case. That'll have to unfold itself in court, and you all will get that information with the public as we move through it. I think Travers had one more.
What did you just, you just tell us? I know it was probably a very emotional conversation, but what was the family and this group's reaction when you called them? You told them just these after 5 years old.
You know, they've been through a lot, and they're still going through a lot. As we all know, even solving this case doesn't bring back Thomas. You know, they were very emotional. It made me very emotional. This whole thing has been very emotional. You know, I'm a Tulane grad. You know, I hang out at Mrs. Mays when I was that age. You know, and the fact that, you know, he and his dad came to the city after Hurricane Katrina to help the city of New Orleans get back on its feet. And that's when he fell in love with it, right? And then he went to Tulane and he met his fiance. And they love this place so much that they were meeting down here to plan their wedding, and they wanted to bring everybody they love to a city we call home. And when he came back down here to plan that big event in his life, he lost his life in his favorite city. It is deeply emotional. You know, one of the things that Julie told me is she said, you know, I want you to know we don't blame the city of New Orleans because he lost his life. And that was just one person. One person who made a horrible decision that took her son's life, right? So it's really emotional for them, and it's going to continue to be that way. Liz, his then fiance, told me that they had gotten to the point they didn't think they would ever get any answers in this case. And so they were thankful for where we were in the case. And this was even before we had effected the arrest. And I talked to Liz again just before I came out, which is why I was late. It's a good day.
Can you fill in any detail as to the timeline from when he left this case to when he was murdered?
There'll be a detailed timeline as this case unfolds. We've got it, but I'm not going to share it right now.
He had walked that distance.
Exactly right.